As the final moments of Swami Vivekananda's life approached, his actions and reflections became a profound testament to his spiritual journey. Join us as we explore the serene and deeply meaningful final days of this great soul, filled with his last teachings, personal rituals, and the poignant moments that marked his transition from the physical to the eternal. Welcome to the last episode of our series on Swami Vivekananda. In this episode, we delve into the final days of his remarkable life. Witness how Vivekananda prepared for his departure with grace and spiritual insight, from his poignant final teachings to the profound rituals he chose for his final moments. This chapter offers a moving glimpse into the end of a life dedicated to spiritual awakening and service, providing a powerful reflection on his legacy and enduring message. 3 days before the Mahasamadhi, Vivekananda pointed out to Swami Premananda a particular spot on the monastery grounds where he wished his body to be cremated. On Wednesday, the Swami fasted, following the orthodox rule. It was the 11th day of the moon. Sister Nivedita came to the monastery to ask him some questions about her school, but he was not interested and referred her to some other Swamis. He insisted, however, on serving Nivedita the morning meal. To quote the sister's words, each dish, as it was offered, boiled seeds of the jackfruit, boiled potatoes, plain rice, and ice-cold milk formed the subject of playful chat, and finally, to end the meal, he himself poured the water over her hands and dried them with a towel. "It is I who should do these things for you, Swamiji, not you for me," was the protest naturally offered. But his answer was startling in its solemnity. Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. Something checked the answer, but that was the last time. As it rose to the lips and the words remained unuttered, this was well. For here also, the time had come. There was nothing sad or grave about the Swami during these days. Efforts were made not to tire him. Conversations were kept as light as possible, touching only upon the pet animals that surrounded him, his garden experiments, books, and absent friends. But all the while, one was conscious of a luminous presence of which the Swami's bodily form seemed only a shadow or symbol. The members of the monastery had never felt so strongly as now before him that they stood in the presence of an infinite light. Yet none was prepared to see the end so soon, least of all on that Friday, July the 4th, on which he appeared so much stronger and healthier than he had been for years. On the supreme day, Friday, he rose very early. Going to the chapel alone, he shut the windows and bolted the doors, contrary to his habit, and meditated for 3 hours. Descending the stairs of the shrine, he sang a beautiful song about Kali. "Is Kali, my mother, really black? The naked one, though black she seems, lights the lotus of the heart. Men call her black, but yet my mind will not believe that she is so. Now she is white, now red, now blue, now she appears as yellow too. I hardly know who mother is, though I have pondered all my life. Now Purusha, now Prakriti, and now the void she seems to be. To meditate on all these things confounds poor Kamalakanta's wits." Then he said, almost in a whisper, "If there were another Vivekananda, then he would have understood what this Vivekananda has done. And yet, how many Vivekanandas shall be born in time?" He expressed the desire to worship Mother Kali at the mutt the following day, and asked 2 of his disciples to procure all the necessary articles for the ceremony. Next, he asked the disciple Shatananda to read a passage from the Yajurveda with the commentary of a well-known expositor. The Swami said that he did not agree with the commentator and exhorted the disciple to give a new interpretation of the Vedic texts. He partook of the noon meal with great relish in company with the members of the mutt, though usually at that time he ate alone in his room because of his illness. Immediately afterwards, full of life and humour, he gave lessons to the brahmacharis for 3 hours on Sanskrit grammar. In the afternoon, he took a walk for about 2 miles with Swami Premananda and discussed his plan to start a Vedic college in the monastery. "What will be the good of studying the Vedas?" Premananda asked. "It will kill superstition," Swami Vivekananda said. On his return, the Swami inquired very tenderly concerning every member of the monastery. Then he conversed for a long time with his companions on the rise and fall of nations. India is immortal, he said, if she persists in her search for God. But if she goes in for politics and social conflict, she will die. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the bell rang for worship in the chapel. The Swami went to his room and told the disciple who attended him that none was to come to him until called for. He spent an hour in meditation and telling his beads, then called the disciple and asked him to open all the windows and fan his head. He lay down quietly on his bed, and the attendant thought that he was either sleeping or meditating. At the end of an hour, his hands trembled a little and he breathed once very deeply. There was a silence for a minute or two, and again he breathed in the same manner. His eyes became fixed in the center of his eyebrows, his face assumed a divine expression, and eternal silence fell. There was, said a brother disciple of the Swami, a little blood in his nostrils, about his mouth and in his eyes. According to the yoga scriptures, the life breath of an illumined yogi passes out through the opening on the top of the head, causing the blood to flow in the nostrils and the mouth. The great ecstasy took place at 10 minutes past 9. Swami Vivekananda passed away at the age of 39 years, 5 months and 24 days, thus fulfilling his own prophecy, "I shall not live to be 40 years old." The brother disciples thought that he might have fallen into samadhi and chanted the Master's name to bring back his consciousness. But he remained on his back motionless. Physicians were sent for, and the body was thoroughly examined. In the doctor's opinion, life was only suspended. Artificial respiration was tried. At midnight, however, Swami Vivekananda was pronounced dead, the cause, according to medical science, having been apoplexy or sudden failure of the heart. But the monks were convinced that their leader had voluntarily cast off his body in samadhi, as predicted by Sri Ramakrishna. In the morning, people poured in from all quarters. Nivedita sat by the body and fanned it till it was brought down at 2 p.m. to the porch leading to the courtyard. It was covered with ochre robes and decorated with flowers. Incense was burnt and a religious service was performed with lights, conch shells and bells. The brother monks and disciples took their final leave, and the procession started, moving slowly through the courtyard and across the lawn, till it reached the vilva tree near the spot where the Swami himself had desired his body to be cremated. The funeral pyre was built and the body was consigned to the flames kindled with sandalwood. Across the Ganga, on the other bank, Ramakrishna had been cremated 16 years before. Nivedita began to weep like a child rolling on the ground. Suddenly the wind blew into her lap a piece of the ochre robe from the pyre, and she received it as a blessing. It was dusk when the flames subsided. The sacred relics were gathered, and the pyre was washed with the water of the Ganga. The place is now marked by a temple, the table of the altar standing on the very spot where the Swami's body rested in the flames. Gloom and desolation fell upon the monastery. The monks prayed in the depths of their hearts, "O Lord, thy will be done." But deep beneath their grief, all felt that this was not the end. The words of the leader, uttered long before his death, rang in their ears. "It may be that I shall find it good to get outside my body, to cast it off like a worn-out garment. But I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world shall know that it is one with God. And may I be born again and again and suffer thousands of miseries, so that I may worship the only God that exists, the only God I believe in, the sum total of all souls. For centuries to come, people everywhere will be inspired by Swami Vivekananda's message. O man, first realize that you are one with Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. And then realize that the whole universe is verily the same Brahman, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma." As we conclude this journey through the life of Swami Vivekananda, let us not see it merely as a historical account, but as a call to action. Vivekananda's vision of a world united in spiritual and human values is more relevant today than ever. In a time of global unrest, social division, and spiritual disconnection. His message of unity, service, and the divinity of the human soul calls us to rise above our differences and work for the betterment of all. He reminds us that each one of us carries within the power to transform ourselves and the world. Swami Vivekananda's story is not just about a monk who lived and died. It is about a spirit that refuses to be confined by time. It is about the power of one soul to ignite a movement, to inspire a generation, and to leave an indelible mark on the world. As we carry forward his legacy, let us remember his words, "May I be born again and again, and suffer thousands of miseries, so that I may worship the only God that exists, the only God I believe in, the sum total of all souls." In this spirit of selfless service and eternal striving, Swami Vivekananda's light continues to guide us, reminding us that we are all part of a greater whole, united in the pursuit of truth, love, and divinity. Do check out our other biographies on Biography Central, such as Autobiography of a Yogi, Biography of Bhagawan Ramana Maharshi, and Biography of Sri Ramakrishna, and others. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.